On Sunday, August 11th, in the quiet community of Cherry Tree Lane in Clarendon, our entire nation was shaken by a brutal act of violence.
Gangsters mercilessly took the lives of 8 innocent Jamaicans, including a 7-year-old boy.
These criminals will strike again, destroying more families and more communities, unless we stand together to stop them.
If you have any information that can help bring these killers to justice, please share it with the security forces.
The government has established a reward fund of $25 million for information leading to the arrest and charge of
the perpetrators who committed this heinous act,
the facilitators who supplied them with arms, intelligence, and transportation,
and those who harbor and protect these criminals after the crime.
If you know something, please say something.
Call Crime Stop at 311, MOCA at 888-6622-847, NIB at 811, or JDF at 837-8888.
Together, we will defeat the gangs
and develop a culture of peace in our country.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Ministry of National Security.
And pulling from the words of our national pledge, let us fulfill our promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood and peace, and play our part in advancing the welfare of this beautiful island called Jamaica. Also, let us take care on the roads and limit the carnage. Thanks for making it Jamaica Magazine, the program that gives you accurate information and breaks down the facts for you. Today, the Bank of Jamaica speaks on inflationary measures, and we activate the early warning indicators for children with cognitive and neurodevelopment disorders. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Stay with us.
How many more must die because of reckless drivers? How fast is too fast? Make we take time, no man. Obey the rules of the road. Drive with care.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Good day, I'm Twyla Whelan, and this is your JS News for Thursday, September 12, 2024. The Ministry of Agriculture has distributed vital supplies to over 9,000 farmers across several parishes as part of a comprehensive recovery program aimed at restoring Jamaica's poultry sector following Hurricane Beryl. To date, 15,124 broiler chickens and 519 bags of feed have been distributed. The recovery efforts have focused on key agricultural parishes, including St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, and St. Thomas. The ministry says distribution will continue throughout this week. In addition to the poultry and feed distribution, the ministry has begun land preparation activities in the hardest hit regions, prioritizing St. Elizabeth, Manchester, and Clarendon alongside other key production zones. Approximately 2,000 farmers are being targeted for this assistance, and so far, $57 million has been disbursed to facilitate these recovery efforts, with $7 million contributed by the private sector. Portfolio Minister Floyd Green says the provision of chickens, feed, and land preparation support is just one part of the government's ongoing mission to restore agricultural productivity and secure the livelihoods of our farmers. More than 100 families in St. Mary have benefited from over $13 million in cash grants distributed under the government's Rebuild Jamaica initiative. The beneficiaries were presented with their checks during a recent function at the St. Mary Parish Church. Minister of Labour and Social Security Pernell Charles Jr. urged them to make good use of the support but not take more help than what they need.
So we want to encourage you to look around your communities and to make sure that where you have persons who have gotten help from a church, have gotten help already, don't take more than you need. If you need more and you're getting a grant, use it. This is not a grant that says that if you get help, you cannot get more. No. If you have gotten help from a church, but you need more help for your roof, this is a grant to help you.
Rebuild Jamaica is supported by the World Food Programme and the Global Empowerment Mission, in addition to ODPEM, the Social Development Commission, Jamaica Red Cross, Food for the Poor, and the Adventist Disaster Relief Agency, ADRA. Over the past 2 weeks, Minister Charles Jr. and his team have been making stops and distributing checks to residents across the island. Jamaicans can look forward to substantial reductions in their electricity bills for the September billing cycle. That's according to the Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport, Darrell Vaz. In a statement from the ministry, he says the assurance follows a productive meeting with the president of the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, who confirmed that adjustments were being made in accordance with the OUR's directives. The Office of Utilities Regulation had instructed JPS to reduce some customers' bills for September by the difference in its fuel cost in July compared to June. The Light and Power Company was also directed to reissue those August bills for customers who had zero consumption for the period, but the bill did not show a corresponding zero money value. After the meeting with JPS officials, Minister Vaz says he's hopeful the upcoming changes will significantly improve satisfaction compared to last month, when many customers reported higher than usual bills. The Energy Ministry has received over 3,000 emails since August from customers reporting issues, and these are being reviewed by the OUR. Minister Vaz says the government will continue to monitor the situation to ensure JPS adheres to the necessary changes. Jamaica's tourism team is taking a roadshow to India in November to engage airlines, tour operators and travel agents in a bid to position the island as an area for travel from that region. Director of Tourism Donovan White says the ministry is actively working to bring new faces and new types of travelers from elsewhere in the world to Jamaica.
India is a truly diverse market. It's one of the largest populations in the world, the second largest. It is one of the most affluent marketplaces that exists on planet Earth, simply because of their sheer size, their deep investment in technology, medicine, makes them extremely affluent. We believe that there is an acute opportunity for us to develop that market rapidly.
Jamaica has had a representative agency in India for the past 2 years.
The good story for us, for India, is Emirates. And Emirates, I think, has more than 74 flights a week out of India into Dubai. And with that possibility of Bogota connection into Jamaica, we could see that the Indian market can in fact be achievable in short order.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness has extended the deadline for submission of health research abstracts to Friday, September 13. It's open to clinicians, nurses, lecturers, STEM students, and other health-affiliated professionals. They are invited to submit high-quality research abstracts for the upcoming National Health Research Conference, scheduled for November 20 to 22 this year. Research areas for this year's conference include factors associated with healthcare delivery, workplace health and wellness, violence and injuries in vulnerable groups, as well as technology in health or climate change and health. The ministry is also accepting other high-quality research outside these themes. Submissions are being accepted only via the National Health Research Conference webpage at moh.gov.jm/NHRC-submit. And finally, the Electoral Office of Jamaica says it is now advancing preparations for the upcoming by-election in the St. Ann Northeastern constituency. This includes the training of workers, preparation of ballots, and distribution of supplies. 3 candidates were nominated yesterday to contest the by-election on Monday, September 30. They are independent candidate David Anderson, Jamaica Labour Party Representative Matthew Samuda, and Chase Neal, representing the United Independence Congress, UIC. And that's it for JS News Today. I'm Twyla Whelan. Thanks for watching.
How am I going to go to college? I can't find anybody to stand security for me. I mean, I could ask my aunt, but she's likely not going to want to do it. Let me ask her just in case. Hey, Auntie, do you know if anybody I could use to stand as guarantor for my student loan? I'm really struggling here.
Hey sis, what are you stressing about now?
Time is winding down and I need to find someone to stand as guarantor for my student loan. But everyone I ask can't seem to do it, and I don't know what to do now.
So hold on. You didn't know that the Students Loan Bureau doesn't require a guarantor for the loan application?
Are you serious? That's amazing.
Yes, effective April 1, 2024, the Students Loan Bureau no longer requires applicants to have guarantors. This applies to all SLB loan products. With SLB, you can make your dreams a reality. Visit our website at slbja.com for more details and follow all our social media platforms to be in the loop.
Up next, the Bank of Jamaica explains the measures being taken to keep inflation rates within the target range.
Hello, I'm Melanie, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Inflation Watch, where Bank of Jamaica highlights the factors that influence price movements in Jamaica. At June 2024, headline or annual inflation, which is the general rate of increase in the prices of goods and services as measured over a 12-month period by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, was 5.4%. This is good news, as it marks the fourth consecutive month that inflation has remained within BOJ's inflation target range of 4 to 6%. When inflation is within this band, price increases are stable and predictable. Inflation at June 2024 was primarily driven by increased prices for food, including fruits such as oranges, ripe bananas, pineapples, and dried coconut, as well as cereal and cereal products, including rice, bread, and other bakery products. The inflation outturn was also influenced by higher electricity rates, as well as the increase in fares for route and hackney carriage taxis that was implemented in October 2023. The outturn for June was slightly higher than the 5.2% recorded at May 2024, but remained well below the peak of 11.8% recorded in April 2022. This lower inflation at June relative to the peak in April 2022 and several months since then was supported by BOJ's tight monetary policy. That tight policy included 1. Reducing Jamaican dollar liquidity in the financial system. 2. Holding steady at 7% the policy interest rate. That's the interest rate paid by BOJ on the current accounts that deposit-taking institutions have at the central bank. And 3. Maintaining a relatively stable foreign exchange rate, which continued to reduce the impact of imported inflation. With inflation remaining within the target range since March 2024, and the outlook for inflation having been positive, the bank on June 28, 2024, announced the Monetary Policy Committee's decision to start a gradual easing of its monetary policy stance. The first step involves gradually reducing BOJ's absorption of liquidity from deposit-taking institutions through open market operations. This will allow for more credit to be available for the productive sector. It will also encourage gradual interest rate reductions in the money market. Now that you are aware of the factors that influenced the inflation rate at June 2024, let's check in with my co-host BJ. In this episode, he will explain what is meant by the tightening and easing of monetary policy.
BOJ takes certain actions to keep inflation low and stable at between 4 and 6%.
Bank of Jamaica managed inflation with their monetary policy.
Monetary policy? What that know, BJ?
How you do? BJ here. The last time we talked about inflation, I mentioned monetary policy. That's how BOJ manage inflation. They use the policy interest rate as the main tool. Remember that when inflation too high, BOJ worked to reduce it by increasing the policy rate. That's the interest rate paid on the accounts of deposit-taking institutions like commercial banks at the central bank. In that case, they tighten or contract monetary policy. That helps to slow down inflation because with that adjustment, banks charge more interest on loans and are expected to pay more on savings accounts, which discourage borrowing and encourage saving. On the other hand, when inflation is low, BOJ eases monetary policy, reduce interest rate, and encourage borrowing and spending to grow the economy. That's expansionary monetary policy. You remember that before the pandemic, inflation was low and BOJ kept the policy rate low at 0.5% for a long time, so businesses could expand and create more jobs. Business people and consumers found borrowing more manageable and homeowners got a better deal on their mortgage. Jano, everybody benefit when inflation low and stable at between 4 and 6%. But during the pandemic, the price of lots of things went up. Yeah, man, inflation was high. To keep down inflation, BOJ started to raise the policy rate in October 2021 to slow borrowing and spending. I know, that's a lot to digest, but send me your questions and we can talk again. BJ, signing out.
Thanks, BJ, for that useful information. And that's a wrap for Inflation Watch this month. Join us again next time when Bank of Jamaica will bring you another episode of Inflation Watch, where we track inflation and explore the factors influencing price changes in Jamaica. I'm Melanie. Until then, walk good. Join us next month on Inflation Watch to see what the inflation number will be.
Wild Gilbert.
Recently, Prime Minister Andrew Holness charged the Ministry of Education with seeking out children with special needs and ensuring they are enrolled in school. Today, we highlight a few disorders that may be keeping these children out of the education system and help you to identify the early warning signs in cognitive and neurodevelopment disorders.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with accurate and timely information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. Now, as parents and students settle back into the school routine, many are observing that some students may function differently in terms of behavior and learning capabilities. It's important to recognize any challenges seen in these areas might not simply be a case of bad behavior. Instead, these differences could be indicative of neurodevelopmental disorders such as ADHD or autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Now, identifying and understanding these conditions requires a thorough assessment. So, how can you discern whether your child might be experiencing such a disorder and what steps should be taken? Today, we're joined by Dr. Faith Alexander, Executive Director of Z Learning Center, who will shed light on the critical importance of early intervention in addressing neurodevelopmental disorders. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Alexander.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump right into getting the facts. This is a fascinating subject, but first we have to start with a definition of what we're talking about. So we've used the word neurodevelopmental disorder. What is that?
So when we think about neurodevelopmental or neurodivergent, we think about disorders that have to do with the brain. There are several neurodevelopmental and or neurodivergent disorders that appear in kids.
Right.
When we think about, as you mentioned, ASD, ADHD, but then there are things like sensory processing disorders. There is cerebral palsy.
Right.
Epilepsy, or what we in Jamaica call as fits.
Yes.
Those are neurodivergent disorders. There are also other disorders such as other types of palsies and so on that make up or fall under the whole neurodivergent umbrella.
Oh, so we're talking in general atypical mental neural processes in
Yes.
terms of social, emotional, developmental abilities.
Right.
Okay. Is being nonverbal one of those?
Absolutely. Being nonverbal, rather, is one of those. What we're finding now is a lot of kids who are on the autism spectrum tend to be nonverbal, especially those who are under 3 years. I'm finding a lot of those children are coming now to be assessed for profiles of being on the autism spectrum.
Right. So we're straying a little into the territory of science, but let's draw back from that just a bit, because we have mentioned ADHD, we've mentioned ASD, and I'd like you to give our viewers an idea of what that looks like and what that means.
So typically, a child who has ASD or autism spectrum disorder, they have a profile of repeated behavior. So you might see head banging, or you may see them doing what we call stimming, which is flapping of the hands, like that. Or they could be turning in circles repeatedly without even...
Compulsive behavior.
Yes, compulsive behaviors. Or you might find what we call excoriation, which is picking the skin until it bleeds, or so on. So all of those are signs of ASD.
Right.
I want to caution people, however, that just because they're seeing these signs today doesn't mean that the child is autistic. It has to be seen over a period of a prolonged, maybe over 6 months or so on.
Okay. So are these two developmental challenges, the ones that we're mentioning so far, are they prevalent in Jamaican society? If not, which are?
So in 2022, UNICEF did a survey and in Latin America and the Caribbean, and it found that 16 million children between the ages of 10 and 19 do have some sort of mental disorder.
16 million.
16 million between 10 and 19. Now, in Latin America and the Caribbean, Jamaica falls in as the 6th country. So we are high up there in terms of neurodevelopmental disorders. So that translates to about 1 in 7 children who has this disorder. Of course, a lot of it has gone undiagnosed in Jamaica.
Right. Why is that?
For the simple reason that, well, there are a number of reasons. Let me talk about why we're seeing this uptick, first of all.
Okay.
Science has evolved a lot over the years, and there are extenuating factors that are causing these disorders, such as environmental factors. When we think about lead, right, in the paint, in the crayons, and so on, that is helping to increase the prevalence of these disorders. Low birth rate, preterm babies, that's also another cause of these disorders as well. In terms of in Jamaica, a lot of, I don't think we have enough resources that are available to help with the diagnoses. So there are few practitioners like myself who are doing the assessments and the pre-screening to help parents to be aware of these disorders that need the early intervention.
Is it taboo? Is it taboo among parents? Are they willing to face this?
So a lot of parents are in denial. In denial, yes. They may see the child doing what I mentioned before, the stimming, walking on the tippy toes, and they think that that is normal or something that they'll grow out of, or the spinning around in circles, or the jumping on the bed incessantly. Those are, some of them are sensory processing disorders, and most parents might think, because they're unaware, that it is just a normal behavior, but it really isn't. It is a precursor of and a sign of autism.
Right. So let's say a parent notices these things and it has gone on for some time, and you're like, okay, this is definitely not normal. Let's say that they're not struggling with the taboo, they're not struggling with denial, they're actually willing to take this on. And I believe we should. What should they do? What's the first step?
First step is to get an assessment. So Actually, what we do at Zeal is not jumping straight into an assessment.
Right.
We do what is called a pre-screening to ensure that we know whether we're looking for kids who may have a profile of autism spectrum, or a child who may have other developmental delays, or who may ADHD.
Okay.
Because the truth is, a full assessment is costly. So you want to ensure that you are on the right path in making a diagnosis before just, telling folks to spend an inordinate amount of money.
Right.
And you don't really know what you're looking for.
Does it matter when we detect it and when we don't? So early intervention.
Right. So early intervention should be, we look at early intervention from birth to 3 years.
Okay.
So we want to ensure that we stem those developmental delays in that early period. So early intervention really refers to the supports that we provide for children. So whether it be that they have, like we were talking about, the nonverbal child.
Right.
So they may need specialization in speech therapy. If they have fine motor or gross motor developmental delays, they may need work with an occupational therapist. So it is a group of I would say, a multi-dimensional group that comes together to work with this child to ensure that they can function in society.
Okay. And you mentioned from birth to 3.
Yes.
Would I be correct in interpreting that as the critical window of
Absolutely, yes.
So, Dr. Alexander, I have to ask, because somebody's thinking it, what if I miss that period?
We can still, even though that's a critical window, that does not mean or preclude a child from getting intervention if they are beyond 3 years old.
Okay.
It's just that birth to 3 is really the sweet spot of catching the children to ensure that they have a full academic and social life.
Are you a PATH or Wards of the State applicant? Then this video is for you. Guess what? You are not required to pay an application fee. And you automatically receive our granted aid of $60,000 upon your application submission for a targeted loan. For more SLB info, follow us on all social media platforms.
Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. Mosquitoes will breed in any container that holds water.
Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, barrels, buckets, and tanks. If this cannot be done, pour cooking oil on the water surface. Punch holes in all tins, plastics, and beverage boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover all tires or fill with dirt to prevent water collection. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs. Use mosquito repellents to protect yourself from mosquito bites. Dispose of garbage properly by placing in plastic bags and securing properly to prevent water collection.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Do join us again tomorrow and we'll bring another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, gis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at gis.gov.jm or via X at JIS News. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.